What happened to your school bad boy slash girl? Like it was straight out of a movie, he died in a car crash the night of graduation. Mine OD'd on methadone the night before graduation. Honestly, nobody was surprised. Sad maybe, but not surprised. Lots of meth. She posts photos of her newborn boy and calls him her sexy little man. My biggest bully in middle/high school ended up going to prison. Funny thing though, my mom worked in that prison, and they got to know each other. When he got out, he found me and apologized. He later got a job at a local Taco Bell, and whenever I came in he would always add a bunch of free stuff to my order. I haven't seen him in almost 2 decades, but I know he became a dad. I actually hope he's doing well. Alcoholic, missing most his teeth, usually in between jobs in either lawn service or pest control, has custody of his kids cause he's the good parent. She was a bit of a goth. Smoked in front of the school. Smoked pot behind the gym. Graduated valedictorian. Went to Stanford on a full-ride scholarship. Not sure how this happened, but there were 3 bad boys on our football team, all players and all very good-looking. They cussed, drank, smoked all the time, and were constantly getting laid, or at least telling everyone they were. Right around senior year/college they each went through some change and are all now born-again Christians. No partying, less cussing, and none of them talk about women in an objectifying way. It's great but kinda unnerving in a way. Right, like did they go on a bender and murder someone together? This is the best theory to explain this that I've heard so far. School, bad boy, when I was there was my older brother. Drug dealer, played in a metal band, general smartass and a-hole. He flunked out of college after 2 semesters and has been waiting tables since then. He turns 30 this year, and the girl he's dating now is the first one who stayed with him for more than 6 months. She's super cool actually, but like 5 years younger than him. They have a couple dogs, smoke a lot of weed, and play a lot of D&D. Last I heard from him, he was escalating a feud with his neighbor by putting a plate and a half worth of loose, cooked spaghetti in her mailbox. He's an eggplant farmer, literally. Shot and killed 2 fellow students behind a Publix across the road. So now he's in prison. He got arrested for spray painting a wall, and happy ending he went back to school and got into uni. We had a couple, myself included. I think there was about 8 in total. I'm all that's left. The rest are dead or incarcerated. He moved to California and became an ad film director. His Instagram stream regularly contains pics of him posing with topless models, celebs, and fancy cars and bikes. He also has a boat. So, he's living up to his childhood image, I say. Which one? One became a serial killer. My wife dated him before all that. One's doing life for a contract killing. 3 are dead, they were bangers. 2 are in mental wards. I was a hood banger back in the late 80s, early 90s. Grew up in New Mexico. There were very few of us that became productive members of society. I got caught for break and enter. Judge gave me a choice. Jail or Job Corps. I took the latter. Met my wife shortly after, and she taught me what it means to be a real man, father, human being. I was the bad girl. I was very academically gifted, but had a bad home life, so I smoked cigarettes and weed, drank a fair bit of vodka, basically did everything I could to rebel against authority. I once threw a jar of blood on the principal, animal blood, long story. Ended up getting kicked out. Spent 2 years on the streets with a bad drug habit and surviving through sex work. Had a massive OD, turned my life around, worked in transport/logistics. Now at 30 I'm at university, studying computer science/engineering. I'll be 34 when I graduate. A rumor went round school that he was messing around with a 13-year-old at 16. She fell pregnant, he got done for statutory rape. Her parents pressed charges and he went to juvenile detention. He married her anyway once she was legally able to get married, although I believe they divorced shortly after, and he became a grandfather at 31, presumably because the daughter they had also fell pregnant at a really young age. He had kids early, still lives in his parents' basement. He wasn't the quintessential bad boy, but did drugs, drank, got arrested for drugs, total partier. Always nice to me and we were friendly, but that whole scene just wasn't my thing. That was 1981, and up until 2013 wondered whatever happened to him. Found out my daughter's new boyfriend was his son. I was very relieved to find out that shortly after high school he realized he was going nowhere fast, cleaned himself up, and started a successful business. Thrilled to say that my husband and I share 2 beautiful grandchildren with he and his wife, and I couldn't be more happy about it. I know y'all are not going to believe this one, but the bad boy, super jack dude bro, blonde blue eyes jock that got all the women, well, he's doing gay norp at a professional level these days, so there's that. He's doing fine though. The bad girl that everyone was in love with, not me at the time though, she turned out to be a very sweet person with an abusive dad, and that made her be so rebellious and edgy back in high school. Well, she's my ex-wife now, so there's that. She's doing fine though. The one that comes to mind forced his ex at gunpoint into his car, and then drove to another state. Cops eventually caught up with them, and then he shot himself in the car. I feel really bad for the girl. Went to prison for selling drugs to minors about a year after he left our school. It's funny, in some aspect just about every classmate of mine was a bad kid. Many went on to college or have kids, but many others have struggled. Out of 55, 12 have died. We graduated high school 6 years ago. Where the fuck do you guys live? I'm in Switzerland. I know noone in my school that has died because of drugs or crime. I live in a cute, little town in PA, USA. I would consider it a pretty wealthy place, heavily white, lots of real estate and financial companies. We have a huge opioid problem, mostly with high school kids to about mid-20s range doing it, and up until the pandemic, there were kids dying constantly of ODs. I don't know if it's just harder to get now or the news isn't covering it as much, but I haven't heard much on the topic for the last couple months. Anyway, I remember my dad driving me to a friend's funeral when I was 15 and saying to me, "You've been to more funerals before the age of 16 than I've been to in my whole life." He's our county DA. 2 bad boys, both brothers, a few years apart. The younger one started some sort of legitimate business, think Roy from The Office, and seems to be doing extremely well. The oldest is literally homeless and constantly begging for money on Facebook. It's really sad. Drugs, and brain damage. In middle school there were these twins who were both really cool. They had a band, one did drums while the other sang and played guitar, skated, occasionally got in trouble with the law but for really small things. A few months ago I was taking a bus when I saw them get on. They were clearly homeless, and one of them kept whining to the other that he needed his fix. He passed out, and his brother half-heartedly puked into his hand. Eventually the bus driver saw one of them, I shit you not, stripped down to his boxers to get some non-puke stained clothes on, and told them to get the fuck off the bus. Told my folks about seeing the twins. Apparently they've been in and out of jail for years. Other guy I did karate with in middle and high school and was a sweet guy who had a bit of a temper and was a bit of a troublemaker. I saw him on the streets. We were both in our mid-20s, but he looked like he was pushing 40. He talked slow, one side of his face drooped even when he smiled, and he walked with a limp. I later found out that he was an on and off heroin addict and had been in enough fights that he was permanently brain damaged. I'm fairly certain one of the prominent and popular bad girls at my school ended up as a prostitute. A few years after graduation, she kept posting about how people should come get massages at this sketchy spa she worked at downtown. She also kept posting about her modeling career, but all the photos were behind a pretty steep paywall, so I'm pretty sure that was Norp. Anyway, I read in the news one day that this spa she worked at was raided by the cops and the owner was arrested for running a prostitution ring. She suddenly stopped posting after that. Had her second kid at 14. Bad boy is now manning the front desk of the local dry cleaner. Bad girl got married, got divorced and is desperately trying to get married again, but everyone is taking a bite, but nobody is buying. Jay is dead 10 years now, and nobody thought he'd make it as far as he did. Not my school, but one close by. I married her. She's an amazing mother to our kids. My school's bad boy/girl never got traction, but the a-hole popular guy is now overweight and balding, and recently hit on my at the gym. I was an awkward band kid, and grew into a very pretty lady. Fuck you, Chad. For real. His name is Chad. Apparently, just looking at Facebook, he's now a nerdy hipster who frequently donates to various charities. In high school, he was a scene/metal kid who had a penchant for beating up his many girlfriends. Who the fuck knows? I deliberately haven't spoken to anyone that I went to school with since. Turns out there's a rumor amongst my former classmates that I'm missing and presumed dead. I'm okay with that. Well, the school slut is now a nurse in Austin, TX. She did well for herself. As for the bad boy, he is still in law school at the University of Virginia. I just realized that I'm nowhere near as successful as them, and I feel sad now. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.